Hi everybody, and welcome to this small video on change management and why it's so vital. So on the subject of why change management, what change management is in a nutshell, well, I would say change management is the people side of change. So whatever your change project, whether it's a reorganization or redesigning work processes or even implementing new technology, none of it is going to reach its full potential if you don't bring your people along. And it's not a nice to have, it's really essential for actually delivering your return on investment, which is why we've created a whole academy around this. And often organisations talk about organisational change, and that's absolutely right. Organisations do need to change, often and in line with your project aims. But organisations are made up of people, and real change therefore lies in the hands of individuals who need to decide to engage with your new process or your new system, or to bring their best self to your new reorganisation. And people are really complex, and change, we would say, really only happens one person at a time. Well, to answer this question, I'm just going to refer to one statistic from an IBM survey of 1,500 change practitioners that they did in 2008 as part of their Making Change Work survey, where they found that only 41% of projects met their objectives. And clearly that's not ideal, because projects are very expensive and very important, which is why the business has invested the time and energy to implement them. And certainly that coincides with my personal experience, having been involved in the field of transformational change management and program management for many, many years. And I've sadly seen probably as many change projects fail or not fully succeed as I have fully succeed against their original objectives. So change projects, by their very nature, are often quite complex and multidimensional, and therefore the success measures and metrics really need to reflect that. So let's take an example. Take the implementation of an HR system. How would you judge success? So is success purely when measured by the fact that you've now handed out all the logons to all of the users for your newly configured system? Well, they've now got access to it, so it's successful, right? Well, I would say that's certainly a success measure, and a very important one. And if that they have also been handed out on time and so far you're within budget, then those are two also very positive metrics. But what happens if everyone's received their logons, but there's been no communication to them to explain the why behind the new system, what issues it solves, and what new opportunities it opens up? Well, then I would say that it's a bit more grey as to whether success is purely about just the handing out of the logons, because the change is far more likely to be effective and sustained if people are really properly brought into the change, which involves really trying to involve their heart as well as their head. To answer this question, I think I need to take a step back to when I was first setting out in HR and project management, and I went on a project management course, and I remember putting up a triangle and saying that most projects needed to be measured by three core metrics: time, quality, and cost. And all these years on, I generally think that they still are quite applicable. So did the project deliver on time? Did it stay within budget? And thirdly, did it meet the quality expectations that you set out to achieve? And this third one, the quality one, is by far the most complex, often the most complex and nuanced success measure for change projects. So the question is, did it meet the quality expectations that you hoped for? And that's likely to have a number of sides to it, because it's all about impact and whether it had the impact that you wished for. So it can probably be measured by way of things like system adoption and take up. So not just, as I said, the handing out of logons, but whether people are willingly and actively actually going into the system, or whether they just keep on having to be reminded to do so, or whether they're doing that willing, as a new way of working. Another way of looking at it would be stakeholder satisfaction. So it's absolutely critical that you understand your stakeholders, from the very most senior to all of your users in all parts of your organisation. Are they satisfied with the outcome of your project? Another way of looking at it is against behaviour change. So a lot of change projects require people to willingly make a change to the way that they maybe approach their work, or access a new system, or adopt a new process. So you really want to be able to measure that behaviour change has taken hold, and that it's not just going to go away once the project team disbands. And then finally, you want to look at whether the outcome matches the standards that you set out in your original business case, and against any quality plans that you may have had to write at the very beginning of the project. And all of this stuff is directly influenced by the effectiveness of the change management approach itself. And that's why we think it's so vital to get the change management side right. Well, like with many things, there are degrees of failure. So I would say low-level failure is likely to be a kind of lukewarm reception to the outcome of the project. So once, for instance, the project is closed down, the old habits may creep back, and the behaviour change that you wanted to become fully embedded doesn't really ever take hold. The system, if it's a system, may not be fully engaged with and fully used. And the real outcome of that, which is, obviously absolutely not ideal, is that then the data and the content within the system is nothing like as rich and usable as you'd hoped for. And the outcome of all of that is that confidence just becomes slightly sapped. So end users are less confident about using whatever project, the outcome of the project. They're more wary about your big promises of life-changing change next time. And probably people then are less likely to be advocates for whatever your project is next time, and won't voluntarily volunteer to be involved in your project next time, which is far from ideal. So if that's low-level kind of failure, I guess there's sometimes, sadly, more high-profile failure, which is probably a more dramatic and public way of projects failing, and then everybody would probably know about it. So in this circumstance, the project may stop completely. The budget is removed and the tap is turned off, maybe if there's been one too many overruns or change requests, or that the resources start to be taken away and put onto other higher priorities, or that there's simply a U-turn in direction. And nobody wants to be involved, obviously, with that kind of scenario. Well, I'd refer to the Prosky way of looking at this. And Prosky is a change management specialist organisation that I've been looking at their stuff recently. And what they say is, if projects fail to succeed, then this is when the re's come into play. And what they mean by that is that you have to restart. And we're talking about rework or redesign or reevaluating and revisiting. And all of that obviously is just very energy sapping and a real shame, considering the reason why you started out on this project journey was because you actually needed it to succeed in the first place, and it was meeting a specific need that the organisation had. So obviously that is far from ideal. And the rest of this academy course then is going to hopefully help provide you with lots of very practical insights and materials to support you through your change journey, and support you in a very practical way so that you don't have any of those outcomes and that you are fully successful.